603. Roe versus Wade is not a law. The Supreme Court of the United States has not been given the duty or power of legislation according to our union's founding documents. It is a fundamentally flawed and errant court opinion, decades old without proper scientific, logical, or legal basis. It was based on the biologically and demonstrably absurd premise that what is in the womb of a mother is potential human life. We know as a biblical fact of revelation and as a biological and scientific fact that at the very moment of our conception, all of our biological components of you, me, and every human being is present. The only difference from that point is the difference of degree, size, level of development, environment, and degree of dependence. Honorable representatives of justice, murder is defined as taking human life in an unjustified manner with malice aforethought. This is taking place under your watch, under your jurisdiction, and it is your responsibility to uphold justice for our preborn neighbors and to interpose by putting an immediate end to this massacre of innocents. This is not merely, please hear this, a partisan issue. This is the premier issue of justice before you all this day and every day until you do your duty to stand between these defenseless human beings and their attackers. Honorable representatives, you have a duty to not allow people to kill human beings who are small, still developing, or located in the safe sanctuary of their mothers, and who are dependent on others for life. If we rationalize killing children because they are small, do we also abate the punishment for the father who murders his small 2-year-old? Do we also cease to uphold justice for the 9-year-old who is not fully developed? Do we allow humans to kill other humans simply because of where they happen to be located? Are we going to cease upholding justice for the elderly and the handicapped simply because they are dependent upon others for their lives? Before this day is over, dozens of human beings will have their arms torn from their sockets, their legs will be ripped from their bodies, and they will be disemboweled and have their heads crushed. Graphic, I know, but true. This will be done under your watch, and you will all be held accountable before God for not acting, and you'll be violating your duty as magistrates by not upholding justice and, please hear this, Arizona law, which forbids the unjustified killing of a human being with malice aforethought. Thank you for your attention today. Please go to endabortionnow.com for more.
Thank you. Marcus Pittman?
Thank you for allowing me the time to speak today. My name is Marcus Pittman. I am a filmmaker who resides in Arizona and a member of Apologia Church. 5 years ago, I created a movie titled Babies Are Murdered Here about the happenings outside of abortion clinics. I followed people who saved the lives of children, many of which who did this full-time with no guarantee of income. While the film was supposed to document what these heroes do for a living every day, it took a turn. I realized that the real story was the mothers who get abortions. These women are not the pro-choice group, what the pro-choice groups have been telling us they are. They are not victims who are stuck in a tough position. They are, in fact, murderers. Many women danced and celebrated the fact that they could kill their children. Many women told me on camera and with the joy of a completely unstoppable serial killer how many children they have killed, and they danced with glee and by their own words celebrated the fact that, quote, they have murdered their children. Members of City Council, there are murderers roaming the streets today. We know of the abortion doctors, we know of the clinic staff, the lobbyists for Planned Parenthood, but these murderers protect their assassins, their clientele, by painting women as innocent victims in a tough spot, etc., when the truth is that these women, every woman, knows exactly what they are doing. No woman who sits on this City Council or sits in this room is unaware that pregnancy means to be with a child. They know. No amount of tough circumstances changes that. Likewise, the law requires that murder be punished as murder. I can't kill my 2-day-old child because I'm in a tough spot, nor should I be allowed to murder my 2-month-old child still in the womb. Children, council, please hear me. There are murderers roaming the streets with glee. I have the video evidence. I made the film on it. You have been deceived, and now you know the truth, and you are without excuse. The Bible commands that civil magistrates are agents of the state to bring justice on those who do evil. What could be a clearer definition of those who do evil than women who laugh at their ability to murder their children? What about the escorts who aid them, men and women who cackle with joy as they bring them in to murder their child? aiding these women in their crimes. I beg you to put a stop to it. Ignore Roe v. Wade like Colorado ignores federal drug laws or other states ignore immigration laws and set up sanctuary cities. Bring our state to repentance and punish evil. And while I have 20 seconds left, I know a lot of you guys, especially the vice mayor, I see you when we come here every week and you make faces when we talk about this, but we are serious and we will use all the power of media that we have to remove you guys from your seat if you do not stop abortion in this state now. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach Morgan?
Well, my name is Reverend Zach Morgan, and I'm an elder at Apologia Church. I come to you again with respect, love, and serious concern. Just so you're aware, we're going to keep coming to bring this issue to your attention again and again and again, simply because innocent people are being executed every single day in our city. Fighting for the oppressed, our preborn neighbors, is the right action to take. They have no voice, so we must speak for them. They can't defend themselves, so we must come to their defense. Regardless of how you may self-define abortion, please listen again very carefully. Abortion is the premeditated killing of innocent preborn human beings developing in the wombs of their mothers with malice aforethought. Abortion is murder, and if you're repelled by that statement and all that's been said already today and you continue to support child murder, you must hear loud and clearly, you are on the wrong side of history. Isn't it unimaginably mind-boggling that 150 years ago, African Americans were murdered, tortured, butchered, and horrifically oppressed? And I think we would all agree that what they endured was absolutely evil, abominable, and unjust. But why were they treated in such a way? It's because they were deemed less than human by the majority populace. And I think we would all agree in here that the majority populace was in serious error and wound up on the wrong side of history. They were wrong about African Americans being less than human, and it caused unimaginable suffering that we can't even conceive of. Now we have a very similar situation in which our preborn neighbors are erroneously defined as less than human and are being murdered, tortured, butchered, and horribly oppressed. And this is bringing devastating consequences on every single one of us. Because our nation has unlawfully sanctioned the murder of babies, we are a nation that our God is in the process of judging and dispossessing. Listen carefully, if we are a nation under blood guilt, we are guilty of shedding innocent blood, and God hates it and is responding in punitive judgment. God is a gracious and loving Heavenly Father who is altogether righteous and holy. Therefore, He views child murder as abominably wicked and heinous. Our land is literally polluted by the blood of these murdered innocents, and we are all staggering under the consequences. Abortion unleashes compounded destruction, not only on the mother, but all involved, and every single one of us. What's our only course of action? It's one word, it's repentance. You must change your minds about abortion as God's word is presented to you. Then you must change your ways. You are given the sacred trust of protecting innocent life, and with all the respect and love that I can muster, you are failing to fulfill your primary duty. 40 innocent human beings are in the process of being executed while I say this today, and if we don't act, 40 more will tomorrow and the next day and the next day. God's word says that the shed blood of innocent humans cries out for justice, and mark my words, they will have their day in court.
Zach Conover?
Good afternoon, honorable representatives. My name is Zachary Conover, and I'm a Christian who leads a weekly ministry on behalf of unborn children in the state of Arizona outside of local abortion clinics in my community, where we preach the gospel and offer help to those who are actively considering the murder of their own children. I submit to you that up to this point, the legislation proposed to protect them has done nothing more than regulate this issue as health care, rather than criminalize it as murder. In our own homicide code, Arizona law specifies that an unborn child at any stage of development is a human being, and if you kill it, you can be charged with up to first-degree murder. Furthermore, as you heard, Arizona Revised Statute 13-3603 states that anyone who seeks to procure the miscarriage of a woman's unborn child by any means will be subject to prosecution. I am calling upon you today, our representatives, to not only obey God's law, but to enforce current Arizona state law and establish equal justice for those who are being oppressed, and act to ensure that they receive the same protections as any other citizen of this land in accordance with our nation's Constitution. There is a fiction that we all have believed for far too long, and it has cost us the lives of millions of unborn children. It's the lie that the Supreme Court has ruled, and all that we can do is obey. However, our state was not meant to be an implementation center for unjust or immoral law, policy, or court opinion. Our Constitution grants legislative power to Congress alone. Roe v. Wade was based on false premises. It is therefore void, of no force, and it is to be ignored. You have a duty to maintain this state's authorities, rights, and liberties. Therefore, I charge that it is your right and your duty to not follow a federal court into such wicked disobedience to God and our original system of government as to deny the most defenseless among us the right to life. Your Lord demands justice. If you work to protect your unborn neighbors, I want you to hear me. I will support you. I will stand with you no matter what comes. But if you will not, I will do everything in my ability to change your political climate until the unborn children of this state receive the same protection as all other image bearers of God, just like we prayed at the beginning. You've been warned today that when you stand before God, the judge of all the earth will not dismiss or delay justice in your case. It is my duty to inform you that there is only one way to escape this justice, and I want you to hear it. And that's by turning from your sin in faith to the King of Kings, Jesus Christ, so that you receive forgiveness, peace with your Creator, and the gift of eternal life. But be warned, this King demands your obedience. He commands you to end abortion now. Thank you.
Thank you. Luke Pearson.
Good afternoon. My name is Reverend Luke Pearson. I am an elder and discipleship pastor at Apologia Church in Tempe. First, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I have come to impress upon you, as our local magistrates of what is the 6th largest city in the U.S., your responsibility before God, your Creator, to uphold justice for your preborn neighbors. Romans chapter 13 makes it quite clear that your authority comes directly from God and that your power exists, is instituted, and is upheld by His power for His glory. You are required to be a terror, not to good conduct, but to bad. You are God's servants, His ministers, literally His deacons. Evildoers are to be afraid because you are commanded to refrain from bearing your sword in vain. You are called to be God's avengers, or the ones who carry out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. As a citizen of Arizona and subject to your authority, Romans chapter 13 also demands that I give you the honor and respect that is due to you. So I am respectfully calling on you to defend the nearly 40 babies murdered prior to birth every single day in Arizona. Revised Arizona Statute 13-603 makes abortion of the preborn illegal, and it is on the books and has been for a very long time, yet it is not being enforced. It is your responsibility before God to call evil, evil, and call good, good. That means punishing the evildoer and protecting the innocent. So specifically in this instance, you are to punish those who illegally abort babies before their first breath and to protect these precious little lives. As a pastor, I am admonishing you to have the courage to uphold this law. Babies are not being murdered in Arizona because it is lawful. It's quite the contrary. Babies are being murdered every day in State 48 because of fear. Not fear of a law, but fear of a Supreme Court ruling. Fear of the federal beast. You have the authority and responsibility to stand in the gap for these children. Will you do it? If you do, I promise you will have our support. However, I also promise that if you fail to do this, not only will you hear about it, but so will your constituents. Proverbs 29:18 says this, "Where there is no prophetic vision, the people cast off restraint, but blessed is he who keeps the law." For far too long, there has been no prophetic vision in Arizona, and the people have therefore cast off restraint. That time is now over. Know that we will continue to call on the citizens of Arizona to keep God's law, specifically when it comes to our own national modern Holocaust. Will you fight? Will you have the necessary fortitude? Will you stand in the gap and interpose for these preborn citizens of your very own jurisdiction? You will be held accountable by God, and know that if you willingly refuse to defend the preborn, their blood will be on your hands. Thank you again for your time today. If anyone has any questions, please visit endabortionnow.com. To God alone be the glory.
Thank you. I believe that's all the time we have for this segment. I do want to note that Councilman DeCiccio is now on the phone. 24-hour paragraph, please.
The titles of the following ordinance and resolution numbers on the agenda were available to the public at least 24 hours prior to this council meeting and therefore may be read by title or agenda item only. Ordinances number G6541, S45223 through 45262, and 45264 through 45267, and Resolution 21697 through 21701.
Thank you. Councilwoman Mendoza, do you have you had time to review the minutes of the October 3rd meeting?
Mayor, should we all call in? I mean, don't we have to basically say that we're here? We have to call the meeting to order.
We did all that.
Don't we have to call the meeting to order? Oh, you did? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah,
We did.
before you got on the phone.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
I think we have a motion to approve October 3rd meeting and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Vice Mayor Waring,
Move to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2018.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Aye.
carries unanimously. Boards and commissions.
Move to approve the mayor and city council boards and commission nominations as amended.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. I believe we have a person to be sworn in. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
David Moody.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution and laws of the state of Arizona,
and the Constitution and the laws of the state of Arizona,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and defend them against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of
and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of the office of the Citizens Transportation Commission
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, you are official. Would you like to go up and,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Kathy.
you're very welcome. It's good to see you. That brings us to liquor license applications. Vice Mayor, do you have a motion?
I do. Motion to approve items 4 through 20, except item 20, which the applicant has requested to be continued to January 9th, 2019.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Do we need a separate motion on 20? Or is that included?
No,
That was
we continued
included. Okay. Brings us to ordinances, resolutions, new business, planning, and zoning.
You ready, Mayor?
I'm ready.
Move to approve items 21 through 86, except the following: 29, 30, 32, 41, 42, 43, 48, 51, and 56. Items 44 and 51 are as corrected. Items 29 and 30 are requested to be continued to January 23rd, 2019. And item 83 is requested to be continued to January 9th, 2019.
Roll call. Oh, I need a second, I guess.
Second.
Sorry. Roll call.
DeCiccio,
Yes.
Guevara,
Yes.
Mendoza,
Yes.
Nowakowski, Pastor, Stark,
Yes.
Waring, Williams.
Yes, unanimous. Brings us to item 20. Oh, we have cards? 29 and 30.
Thought we continued it.
Okay.
Oh. I think we've already made a motion to continue it, but oh, it was excluded? Oh, I apologize. Okay.
Okay.
Move to continue the item to January 23rd, 2019.
Second. It's 29 and 30.
Yeah, both items. Thank you,
Okay.
sorry.
So we have the motion to continue 29 and 30.
Second.
Okay. And we do have some cards. And Greta?
Mayor,
Yes.
may I have a friendly amendment to that?
A continuance?
Yes.
So, Mayor, members of the council, on a procedural motion like that, the only amendment that would be available would be to change the date. You can't go to the substantive motion underlying it. That is, you can't talk about either 29 or 30. So a motion to amend or a friendly amendment would only be possible as to the date.
Well, I was going to ask that. I believe that it doesn't go far enough. I think that we need to have community input. And I was going to suggest 5 meetings instead of 2 meetings, and that we just make sure that the arena happens to be in District 7, but it affects really all residents of the city of Phoenix. So I just wanted to make sure that residents in the southwest, southeast, northwest, northeast, and the downtown area that's going to be affected by any changes with the arena, that they have input and a say-so of what's going to happen. So I was going to ask for an increase from 2 meetings to 3 meetings.
3? Yeah,
Three?
I think that's fine.
That's okay.
All right.
We can work.
We can do that. I don't see any problem with that.
A total of 5. 3.
Mayor,
3 no?
a total of 5. Okay.
Maybe 3 more.
Okay.
So 5. 5. Okay.
A total of 5. Just making sure. Okay.
Thank you.
I have the cards. Greta, I'm sorry. Would you like to come? Oh, you can stay there. Could you speak on 29 and 30, please? On the continuance?
I can't hear you, Feldo. Can you
Okay.
please speak up so people in this room can hear you?
I will do my best. Can you hear me now?
Yes, good for
Okay.
you.
I would like you to speak on 29 and 30 because they've been combined in the motion for continuance.
I understand that, but this is a little late to be calling it continuance when people have come down here in large numbers to speak to this item, which has been furtively and secretly negotiated and put on this agenda. This is Chicago politics at its worst, and it has a very foul odor. We are in the business of governing a large city for all who live here. And we are not in the business of funding private enterprise. I don't care what it is. Private enterprise in a capitalist society, and I support it, is self-supporting by its own wise and diligent business practices. Mr. Sarver has done nothing to improve this team in the 14 years he's owned it. He's never funded or bought, paid for 2 or 3 key players, which make any sports team, professional sports team, successful or on the road to success. He's so tight, he squeaks when he walks. And you have been negotiating with this kind of person? Shame on each and all of you. And upon you, Ed, I thought your principles were higher and better than this. We are not in the business of paying taxes to support private enterprise, and especially not an entertainment enterprise. They can support themselves or fail on their own lack of diligence. Don't do this to us again. And make your considerations and discussions with the private sector public. We fund this city.
Thank you.
It isn't funded by private enterprise.
Thank you. Tim Sierowski, I'm probably really messing up your name. Could you also speak on item 29 and 30? And it's for the continuance. Are you for or against the continuance? I see somebody walking around with a microphone. Oh, that's the cameraman, okay. Reverend Seaman, on item 30, are you for or against the continuance?
Good afternoon, I'm Reverend Martha Seaman. I'm president of the board of Valley Interfaith Project. VIP consists of 40-plus congregations, neighborhood associations, schools, and education associations. For nearly 30 years, leaders from our institutions have appeared before this council and in other city forums on the city's priorities, including neighborhood safety and after-school programs for the children of the city. So we clearly have an interest and care for the city's priorities. We would have opposed the substance of items 29 and 30. We are here to say that we believe this kind of extension for the further consideration of this issue is warranted. It is a major public policy issue and deserves to be transparent to the citizens of this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonard Clark? Or against
Mayor?
continuance?
Mayor, respond.
Oh.
Mayor? Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor? Oh, just a quick comment to the lady, I forgot her name, that spoke on the Valley Interfaith Project. I want to thank them, too, for all the work. I don't know if she remembers, I don't know if she was around, but she had mentioned after-school programs. And Councilman, at the time, then he became mayor, Councilman Gordon and I worked with Valley Interfaith Project back in the 90s to create the first after-school program in the city of Phoenix that was very successful at the time. So I want to thank her for all her help and her work. We've always had a great working relationship.
Thank you.
But yeah, that was a huge highlight for the city at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Goldstein? Oh, I'm sorry, Leonard? What happened? You disappeared on me.
Oh, Mark's right there.
Mark will be next.
Thank you, Mayor and Council
For or
members.
against the continuance?
On this continuance, and with great respects to Greta, thank God for citizens who can come up here and sometimes tell us what, we don't want to hear. That's what makes America great. Other countries, you can't do that. But with all due respect, I do like the idea, as the councilman, Mr. Nowakowski, has suggested, for the 5 more public meetings. So I would ask, being a fan's supporter, no matter how bad or good they do, not just going to jump on the wagon when they're doing good, we're with them all the way. Still, that being said, let's have more public input. I'm concerned about how fast it is going, so I do support the motion to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard. Mark, please.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Mark Goldstein. I represent an Arizona firm, Sustainability Partners. So we have sent communications to you in the city manager's office. We offer a form of financing for projects of this size that is without immediate outlay. It's not capital. It's called sustainability as a service. There's a usage fee model where such assets do not are not a capital obligation, are often off the books entirely, and I would look forward to perhaps continuing that conversation with the city manager's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew Condi. And Eric Johnson will follow.
Hello, thank you. I didn't know this was going to be continued. It took about an hour for me to get here, so, but I do have some comments on the continuance. I think it's a great idea. I think having some time for people like myself, friends of mine, to come forward and talk. But I do want to say a couple things maybe before you consider that next step, before you meet again. And some things I think that the citizens are missing with respect to the financial side of this. We can all talk about all the things that maybe the city misses out on when we put that amount of money towards this, but I think we also need to have an idea of how much money these teams bring in. And when we talk about that, we talk about naming rights. How much money are people being paid to name a stadium after themselves? We don't even know, for example, the Cardinals Stadium. How much was paid for that deal? We don't know about Talking Stick. How much was paid for that deal? And maybe we should think about some other alternatives with respect to how we want to fund this stadium. One example would be Golden State's personal seat licenses. It's a much, much better way for stewards of a city to kind of fund an area like that. I don't think it's in the citizen of Phoenix's interests to fund this project, and I'm a big Suns fan. I love to see him stay, but it's not for us to pay. There's a lot of other people in our community outside of Phoenix that should bear the costs, and maybe it's those people that are actually attending those games. And thank you, Councilwoman Stark, for getting back to my email.
Thank you. Eric Johnson.
Yes. I just would like to say I've been a Phoenix, live in Phoenix for the past 11 years. I moved here from Chicago. I am a diehard Suns fan. I also run the Suns fan page. Can I pick this up? I run the Suns Facebook fan page, and I also a leading member of the Phoenix Cannabis Coalition. Also a season ticket holder for the Suns for the past 4 or 5 years. I do want to see a new stadium, but out of all of our fans, groups, I don't want to see Sarver. I think Sarver is the worst person to ever own a team. We've lost Colangelo, we lost fan bases, we lost fans. Nobody wants to come here because of Sarver. Now, if we want to talk,
I need you to talk about the continuance, please.
Yes, I think we need a continuance because we need to talk more about a financial plan. You're trying to give $150 million to a team that is the worst in the NBA, to an owner that has been acknowledged to be the worst owner among everywhere, all the fans, everybody. We feel he is destroying our team, and we have no say-so. And now he's trying to push a meeting to get, just because Gallego is going to become mayor possibly or whatever. No, we need due diligence on spending money for our team. I came here just for the Phoenix Suns. And I've been out here 11 years, and I love this town. I love everything with it, but we need more money, but no. If we can negotiate, yeah, give the money, but kick Sarver out and have him sell the team. Or maybe we could do what the Packers do. Maybe own the team. Buy the team from Sarver because he's running it to the dirt. We've had the last 8 years of hell. Pardon my French.
Please.
This is about the continuance. It's not about Sarver, so it's you're supporting the continuance.
I have 2 minutes. This is Phoenix,
No,
right?
About the continuance.
Yes, again, I apologize. So with the continuance, I believe we need 4 or 5 more meetings to talk about the financial aspect.
Your time's up. But thank you.
Please, Sarver, get out of our, sell us to anybody other than you, Sarver.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
DeCiccio?
Mayor?
Yeah.
I have some comments on it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, Mayor, one of the things I think that I've been hearing from individuals is the documents, right? The lack of documents, and I like to see any documents relating to the structure or funding of this agreement be posted online so that people can come to meetings prepared and understand what's going on. I think there's a lot of information out there that's being passed that's false information. People need to understand that we, as the city of Phoenix, we own the arena itself, and that we have different agreements out there to basically maintain it. So I think people need to have that clear understanding. The other clear understanding is what type of impact does it have in the downtown Phoenix and on Phoenix itself. So I think all that information should be public, and we should let people know about that. I believe the more we have out there, the more information, the more that we're able to talk about it, the sooner we can find that common ground and figure this thing out. I think that's one of the problems we had in South Phoenix with the light rail, is that everybody was excited about the light rail, but we left out some of the key players as the individuals that own property along the light rail. So I want to make sure that we have a meeting for the downtown individuals that have businesses and that will be directly affected with the rebuild of the arena, or if something else happens. So I think that's why I asked, that's the reason why I asked for 5 meetings and making sure that downtown Phoenix was included on that. So I want to make sure that these aren't just listening sessions, but at the same time that people are informed and that they're very well informed about what's happening with the arena and the options, where the money's coming from. And many people are talking about tax dollars, so I want to clarify that. I want to make sure that people go in these meetings understanding all those different aspects.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
When this first came up as an issue in Mayor Stanton's State of the City speech in April of 2016, I announced I wouldn't be voting for a new stadium. It has nothing to do with the state of the team. Robert Sarver, under adverse conditions, given that he knows I'm voting against this project, has been nothing but gracious and professional in my dealings with him. I've been really impressed. He's done way better than I would have under similar circumstances, and I appreciate that very much. I wanted to say that publicly. I just philosophically, I cannot get there to believe that the city should be in the professional sports business. But I do believe, and I appreciate Michael Nowakowski and Deborah and everybody who I guess worked on the memo, adding some public meetings. Again, I was a little surprised. Even media outlets were asking, what's your position? Well, if you just Google my name, there are things going back 3 years and quite a few articles and newscasts and so forth in between where I said, I cannot get there. I cannot vote for public money for the stadium. But I do think we have to decide what is the future of that property. I recognize, for those of you who may have been prepared to vote yesterday, that I am not solely in the right. You also have a point. It is a city facility that is there now that taxpayers have invested money in, and I recognize that. So there is no perfect solution. So I do think it's good to get the public's input, more than has happened certainly so far, at these public meetings, and find out what is the future of this, and also explain to the public what the possibilities are. I have my own thoughts, but I recognize they may not carry the day, and certainly you'd like to have as much citizen buy-in as possible, and right now, not even disregarding the polling, just I think the general atmosphere of this is a little bit of a cooling off period is in order. So even though I am against the funding, I am going to support the continuance today. I do appreciate the opportunity to do that, because I think it's the right move. And thank you, Mayor, for bringing that forward.
Mayor?
Councilman?
Thank you. And I want to follow up the same thing that Jim Waring had just talked about as well. I mean, my dealings with Robert Sarver have been nothing but exemplary. I mean, he's been a gentleman. He's been very polite. He's been very direct. I think that what you're seeing today is what you saw with the Phoenix Light Rail in the South Central area, where Phoenix City staff went out there and basically lied to the public, didn't tell the truth, literally went out there and gave them hope that there was going to be some belief that something was going to go on. This is just a continuation of that same level of ineptness, same level of dysfunction that we've seen here at City Hall. And the way it's been handled, I feel bad for Robert Sarver, believe it or not, because of the way it's been handled here. Complete lack of leadership and dysfunction there. And I'm going to support the continuance, but the way this is handled, the way it's been communicated with the public, the way it's been done, it's just been unacceptable. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, may I make a few comments? Thank you.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. Look, I understand. I appreciate and support the continuance, and I think if we want to continue this item, it's important to have public input. I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I think I made my statement clear earlier in the week about where I stand, and I just wanted to share briefly. This morning I received an email from a lobbyist who represents one of the biggest companies in the country. He told me that sometimes the role of a leader is to make a decision and then explain to the constituents why it was the right thing to do. I don't want to speculate about why he felt the need to tell me that, but I do want to make clear that I sit in this seat and I can tell so that my constituents tell me what they think is best for their communities. I believe we have a very hard decision to make here, but it's the public that has an important voice, and it's important that they're a part of those discussions. So thank you, Mayor. I look forward to continuing to have those discussions, and with that, I will be voting yes. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last that you said.
I'll be voting yes for the continuance.
For the continuance, okay, thank you. Any further comments? Hearing
Mayor,
none?
just on the record, we're going to have 5 meetings, one in downtown area, that we're going to have something in the southwest, southeast, northwest, and northeast, so we can get all areas of the city of Phoenix that are impacted by this arena. And then is there a possibility to have documents relating to the structure and the funding for the agreement online somehow, so that people can come to the meeting well prepared and understanding the role of the city of Phoenix and basically what are the do's and don'ts of this contract?
Yes, Mayor, Councilman, our communication office is already working on a special place on the phoenix.gov website, and we'll announce that when it's all there, and all those documents you mentioned will be there.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're back to roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza. Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Waring.
Yes.
Williams.
I want to preface mine with a few remarks too. I will tell you that Mr. Sarver has been very pleasant to work with. He has been a tough negotiator, and I will tell you, I misunderstood this council. We've had this topic several times at East Station, and I thought I was directed to go continue these conversations. It was not ever meant to be withheld from the public. I'm a big believer in sharing this information. I have also shared it with my constituents in District 1 at the last meeting after it became public knowledge, and found them very favorable. They understand totally how important downtown is and what it was like 25 years ago when there was nothing here. And we have a lot of small businesses. I think it's very important we continue to look for uses in our building as we go forward. I'm very eager to hold the public meetings. If there is a council person that isn't in one of the directed spots, we will figure out a way to have it. So just ask my office and arrange it on the schedule. So I am supporting the motion. I believe it carries unanimously. Next item is the designation of voting centers.
I move approval for item 32.
Second.
Vice Mayor? Roll call.
DeCiccio.
Yes.
Guevara.
Yes.
Mendoza.
Yes.
Nowakowski.
Yes.
Pastor.
Yes.
Stark. Waring.
No.
Williams.
Yes. 7-1. Hold for just a few minutes. There's many people leaving. If we could just have a 5-minute break or 3-minute break till they
Actually, I'd
exit
like that to go to the restroom.
We'll make it 5 for you.
Goal number 5 is to add even more parks throughout the city so that all residents live within a 5-minute walk of a park or open space. How will it be achieved? by adding new parks or open space in underserved areas and adding 150 miles of paths, greenways, and bikeways throughout the city, as well as transforming an additional 150 miles of canals into vibrant public spaces. In 2016, the city unveiled a new Margaret T. Hance Park master plan, which will ultimately make that park an iconic destination that provides recreational and cultural experiences and serves as a major event space for concerts and festivals. Goal number 6, air quality. The city is forward-thinking, including achieving top air quality. Goal number 6, to outperform all federal standards and achieve a good or excellent visibility index on 90% days or more. According to the 2015 Greenhouse Gas Emissions Reduction Report, the city has already achieved 15% reduction in GHG emissions from its own operations. In early 2018, the city also adopted a community goal to reduce carbon pollution by 30% by 2025. This new community goal will be accomplished through the planned reductions in the carbon intensity of electricity by utilities, but also through 4 key planned city activities: implementing Transportation 2050, encouraging the adoption of electric vehicles, increase trees and shade by doubling the current tree canopy, encourage the use of clean and renewable energy. The good news is there's already been some achievements. Phoenix trees help remove 1,700 tons of air pollution annually, 29% reduction in particulate matter, or PM-10 dust since 1990, 6% reduction in ozone since 1990. Goal number 7, food systems. First, the goal is to maintain a sustainable, healthy, equitable, and thriving local food system by eliminating food deserts, meaning areas without ready access to fresh, healthy, and affordable food. Second, increasing urban agriculture by establishing farmers markets in each of the city's urban villages. All of this would significantly reduce the rates of hunger, obesity, and diet-related disease. Recently, the Maricopa County Food System.
And this is a public hearing.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thank you. We do have a short staff report for you. Let me introduce Catherine Sorensen and Troy Hayes. Catherine's the Water Services Department Director, and Troy, of course, is the Assistant Water Services Director. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. Thank you so much for letting us address you today on this important issue. We had a very full presentation on our recommendation on the water rate increase back in October when we did the notice of intent. Here, as part of the public hearing, I just want to give you some information regarding all the public outreach that we performed since we last visited with you in October. We have been out presenting to the public. As you know, we sent a postcard to every single water account holder in the system. We held 5 open houses, attended approximately 50 community meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me get caught up here. We attended approximately 50 community meetings. We had multiple media appearances. It was extensively covered. There was obviously a lot of information out on social media as well. I would say, in general terms, having attended many of these community meetings and talking with the folks who had to cover others, for the most part, folks understood the need to invest in our aging infrastructure. As you know, people are at times frustrated with line breaks in their neighborhoods. We did hear a range of comments. Some folks were adamantly opposed to rate increases. Others were adamant that water rates in Phoenix are too low and couldn't understand why Phoenix's rates are among the lowest in the country out here in the desert. So there was a full range. One thing that we did hear time and time again was that people want to hear and learn more about water conservation in our community. So I'm very grateful for your leadership and your support of our renewed water conservation campaign, and look forward very much to working with all of you and with the public on that effort in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions at this point? Okay. We do have cards. Leslie, I think, Antone. Oh, sorry, Lisa.
Hi, so the yellow vest, I'm sure you're all aware that what's going on in France is a protest against an overreaching government. And what we're seeing here in the city of Phoenix, and I have a feeling as our new mayor-elect comes in, that it's just gonna get worse. A 12% tax increase on water bills. You sit up here and say that you're for the poor communities, and I've been in enough of these meetings to understand that that's what a lot of you play on. Do you think that that's not gonna pay, that they're not gonna pay for that? What communities are you representing with a 12% water tax hike? What community? I can't think of one. I can't think of a single community that is going to benefit from an outrageous hike like this. 12%, the highest tax increase in the city of Phoenix history. This isn't California. This isn't Los Angeles. It's not West Hollywood. And Arizona and Phoenix are not going to lay down and let you guys bulldoze over us. We're done. We're exhausted. Every time we turn around, $150 million for the Suns, a 12% water increase. We went to a mayor's town hall where Kate Gallego was bragging about a program where poor people don't have to pay a parking ticket. Who picks up that bill? The taxpayers? When is enough enough? Enough of the handouts and enough of the overtaxing to make up for the promises that you make to the communities that you cannot keep. If you can't keep the promises, don't make them. If people I want in on the free parking tickets because I'm gonna pay $16 to park in that overpass today to come here to tell you that you're stealing from the people and the people know. I'm gonna pay $16. If I decide not to pay that, is Kate Gallego gonna pick it up for me, or you,
Thank
Laura?
you.
Who's gonna pick up that bill
Thank
for
you.
me?
Your time is up.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
be back.
Jennifer Harrison.
Hello, Mayor, council members. I am definitely opposed to the water increase. This will be the largest tax increase the city has ever seen. The largest. We, the taxpayers, the residents, we are tired of funding the city's pet projects, be it the Suns, be it the parking ticket waivers. When does it become enough? When does it turn to 40%? When does it go up to 50%? France is burning to the ground from an overreaching government who thinks it's okay to steal from its citizens to pay for its bloated government. The residents should not be forced to pay 12% increase for the use of their water. The city council has been irresponsible in how they spend the citizens' money. You cannot tax the people to death to pay for your poor money management, your pet projects. Enough is enough. And I say all of you need to pay attention to the council members who vote in favor to raise your taxes, because you guys keep voting them in, and pay attention because the city of Phoenix is slowly becoming California. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan Trozzi?
Hello, my name is Dan Trozzi, Trozzi. I first wanted to say, if you notice on the card, that I am in accordance with the rate increase, and I give Mr. Zerker and Ms. Swenson credit for being proactive and thinking of the future. But I want to share with you an operation analysis I did for the Water Distribution Division several years ago. I came into the city having experience working as a consultant for 5 different utilities, gas, electric, and water. When I came in water distribution, the area was in disarray. And I did the same work I did as a consultant and had the free license to do it, to rearrange areas to be more effectively run, establish performance systems, reporting systems, and matching staffing needs to work requirements, not the other way around. So in the process, I studied out in the field for many, many weeks and months, working with the crews in the heat, working in the yards, and designed, developed, and implemented a system for managing. In that process, we're able to, and also, like I said, implement it. In that process, I was able to eliminate outside contracting costs, reduce overtime, improve customer service, improve productivity, and save over $466,000 in 6 months. I also removed 23 people from the operation. And so I also implemented a productivity system where I could tell you the performance of the water distribution division was either 88 or 92%. And that is, and one other last statement I'd like to make is that I don't want to demonize or shortchange any of the frontline staff or the field staff. I found them every bit as competent and as effective as everything I've seen in the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sounds like you did great work for us. Mike Huckins?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. Mike Huckins here on behalf of the Greater Phoenix Chamber, here today in support of the water rate increase proposal. As you can imagine, the Chamber does not take supporting the rate increase lightly or without careful consideration of the cost benefits. After multiple meetings and presentations with city staff, and I'd like to personally thank Ed, Catherine, and the team for their availability during that process, the Chamber recognizes the need for improved water infrastructure and supports the proposal here before you today. Phoenix has one of the most affordable water supplies in the country, and we want to keep it that way. But given the aging pipeline system, we realize that investments must be made. Absent water, there can be no economic development. No matter what the supply side looks like, without the needed delivery systems in place, our businesses and residents will be at risk for future needs. I know this is not an easy vote for many of you on the dais today, but on behalf of the Chamber, I respectfully request that you support the proposal before you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Claude Maddox?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'm Claude Maddox. I'm the chairman of the Phoenix Water Rate Advisory Committee, made up of citizens of our community who have been appointed by you, the council members, to evaluate and review our need for rate increases. In this particular case, we have spent over a year in reviewing information, researching, literally 10, 20 meetings. I can't remember them all, both the committee as a whole as well as subcommittees. And I want to say that after all of this effort, our committee was unanimous in the recommendation for this. The reason being, besides the fact that it's been quite a while since we've had significant rate increases. We have aging infrastructure, which has already been mentioned, 100-year-old infrastructure that is in need to be replaced, 70, 80, 90-year-old infrastructure that's in need to be replaced. A lot of this in the older sections of our communities. The other side of it is that as we know, there's a potential shortage on the Colorado River, one of our major sources of water, 60% of our water. Should that happen, and we are not prepared to deal with that issue, then as Mr. Huckins mentioned, we are looking at a huge impact on our business community and our economic future. We believe this is important. While 6% with 6% 2 years running is a lot, it is the amount of money that we need in order to meet the needs of this community for the future. And so I would ask you to please support this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to spell Mike, P-E-R-U-N-O-V. Sean, you will follow him.
Regarding the water tax, all I gotta say is, this is not France, you are not Macron. There is no valid reason to anger the good citizens of Phoenix. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and members of council, I think you'll find that most sane citizens of the city won't have a problem paying for reasonable things that we need, like water, keeping our water supply healthy so that we're not drinking, flawed water, and so that we don't end up like some other cities that we can obviously all talk about is hugely important. But I just want to bring up the point on this. What we're hearing from the council, I'm assuming today, is probably gonna sound a lot different than what we heard from a lot of the members who were here when we were trying to get the Nestle plant, right? Back then, Sal DeCiccio, who can't even be bothered to show up in person for most of these meetings anymore, said, we've got plenty of water, it's not a concern, we're in the desert. This city's not gonna exist in 1,000 years, right? So, sustainability, climate change is a real thing, and the way that we go about it, again, the citizens don't have a problem paying for things that we need. We don't want to pay for things that we don't need. We don't need corporate welfare for millionaires who run sports teams into the ground. We want money for things like water. We want things like funds for officer-involved shootings, 41, okay? So I just want to say I support this. Keep doing things the way that this was rolled out. It was done well. I received the notice in the mail. We had the public, ability for public discussion, which I appreciate. But I just want to make sure that what doesn't get lost in translation is the hypocrisy that we're gonna, I'm assuming, hear from many of you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacey Champion.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, my name is Stacey Champion. I too would like to bring up the fact that yes, we are absolutely in the bullseye of climate change. My frustration with the city lies in the city continually making plans and then putting them on a shelf and never looking at them again. And if those of you sitting on the council today haven't read the 2011 city drought plan that the city created, I would strongly encourage you to do so, because in it does lay out a plan of action. Again, it was written in 2011, and I feel that few of the things have been done over the course of this time, and here we are, Chicken Little, the sky is falling. And given, our most precious natural resource, I will say I don't have a problem paying more for water. I do not. What I do have a problem with is the lack of action on the city's behalf and leadership especially's behalf, knowing that this was absolutely going to be an issue. Knowing that our temperatures have increased every year. We have broken heat records year after year. And just very quickly, one of the things that that I wanted to point out. Well, one, again, there was a game plan made in 2011. Had simple things been mandated, as much as you hate that word, on all of the new development, simple things like mandating low flow shower heads and aerators on faucets and all of these other things that can be incorporated into new development to conserve water, as well as, you know, I guess my biggest concern is, one, a big chunk of Phoenix is sitting on a toxic plume that no one wants to ever talk about.
Thank you.
And I would just like to see the city stop making plans and not follow through on any actions, especially when it comes to something like water. Thank you.
Richard Ray?
I know that each of you have been briefed and briefed and briefed. You've been told all of the things that need to be done. I've been involved in this process for 10 years and have monitored it. To the gentleman here, or the lady that just spoke, many of the plans were originally done. Almost everybody has left. Changes had to be made. Things were identified, the needs that now confront the city of Phoenix. We don't want to be thirsty, and we will be, based upon the things that could happen. What we're doing is you are preparing to help the city of Phoenix grow into the future. Many of the things that are the opposition is using, and I'm not quite sure why, would suggest that it's a pet project. Drinking water is not a pet project. It's not something like France, because we're not talking about a tax that is supposed to pay for climate change. What we're talking about is the actual purchase of things that need to be done, wells that need to be dug, lines that need to be run to parts of the city that cannot be adequately provided water in the event that the water from the CAP project falls below a certain standard. I won't get into all of those funny numbers. I know that you've all been briefed on them, but it's absolutely critical that we not pretend that water is going to magically grow on trees, and that if we fail to do this, if we think of this as a pet project, we absolutely will bear the brunt in the years to come if and when the CAP water or the water behind Hoover Dam drops below a certain level, when we will be required and we will be forced as the low man on the totem pole to receive less water from that. So it's imperative. I know you've been briefed on it multiple times. It's absolutely critical, and I would hope that you would see the criticality of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonard Clark?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I actually support you doing this. We have many cities right now that they have failing infrastructure. I support what the former person, Richard, was saying. This is not like France. This is our infrastructure, which is very old. We have people in the state already complaining, which is not your responsibility, but their pipes in the schools having problems. So you're trying to update our water infrastructure, and I mean, my only concern is when you talk about improving the water infrastructure, are we talking about mitigating things like lead, or is that's something else? Also, I am also concerned about the continued expansion of Phoenix. Because I'm not running for political office, I can say these things, but I want to make sure that, you know, some of this isn't going to help developers who have planned developments on the outskirts of Phoenix, who need to show what a 100-year plan, you know, of having water. That's what I'm concerned about. But I do applaud you for taking proactive action, because as you know, they just approved the drought contingency plan. Phoenix, I know, had input in that, and the legislature now is going to be hopefully approving that, because things are getting serious. This is a desert, and we're going to find out real quick if Lake Mead keeps going lower and lower. So thank you, and I do support you doing this.
Thank you. Wesley Harris?
Members of the council, I support my colleagues, the two colleagues that were up here on the Citizens Advisory Committee, our chairman, Claude Maddox, and Richard Ray. I have sympathy for the people who are here to object, because this was me 10 years ago, objecting to a rate increase, which caused us to redo the entire water department. What they don't understand is the water department is not a tax-supported entity. It is a business, if you will. It is a break-even business. It gets no tax dollars. It gets only dollars from its ratepayers. The ratepayers have to put up the money in order to get the water. And we have the lowest rates of any major city in the nation. And we are very old, and we need to be current. We also have a lot of water underneath us, this city, that we need to have access to in case Lake Mead goes below 1,025 feet, which we're very close. The unthinkable level is there. We're only 5 feet away. So we are going to be at the low end of the totem pole as far as the water comes from CAP. CAP continues to raise the rates. This is money we have to pay them. Our chemicals cost more money every time. There's nothing that you have today that 10 years ago cost less. So, or more, I should say. So I support this increase. We've been working on it, as been said, for a year. We have taken this water department apart brick by brick and board by board. We've put it all back together. We don't have any feather bedding there. All of the employees don't represent 17% of the total budget. Everything we pay for is stuff we must have in order to provide the life's blood of this community, and that is water. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We do have some cards here. I will put them into the record that do not want to speak. I believe 3 are in favor and 1 is opposed.
Mayor? Mayor, if I could, I'm remiss because the Wastewater Rate Advisory Committee has done enormous work, as Councilman Maddox, Mr. Maddox alluded to at the beginning, and I really want to recognize them. 3 of them are here today. I don't know if others are in the back, but staff at least is very, very grateful for the time and effort that they put into this recommendation.
Thank you. Any comments? Okay, I will close the public. I'm going to close the public hearing. We now are to the actual rate increases. Do we have a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. I moved to approve the water rates.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Now, you need to read the title, and then we can discuss. All right.
Item 42 is for ordinance number G6541, an ordinance amending Chapter 37 of the Phoenix City Code by amending Section 37-63 pertaining to water rates within the City of Phoenix and Town of Paradise Valley, and Section 37-133 pertaining to the water environmental rate, and providing for an effective date of the first bill date of February 2019.
Comments?
Yes, I just had a couple comments. I think one of the most important things we do is we do deliver infrastructure to our residents, to our businesses, and water is really critical. They mentioned, I think it was Ms. Champion mentioned some of the conservation, and I do believe in my former role, the planning director, we amended a lot of our building codes to ensure protection of water. Could you maybe just elaborate on that?
Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, I apologize because I'm not a building code expert, but yes, that is also my understanding. And I will say, in addition to that, that's how the market has gone. If you go to Home Depot, if you redo your home, if you buy these fixtures, because of the Water Sense program, are far more efficient than they ever have been. So we also see that naturally in the market as well.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't see Alan. I apologize. You were hiding.
All right, Mayor, Councilwoman Stark, yes, when we did the building code update to the latest codes, there were a number of items in there that related to efficiencies of water usage, as well as requiring fixtures and those things to be more energy efficient relative to water as well.
I also recall that the city's been very proactive over the years. I remember maybe 30 years ago, I got a knock on the door, and it was Water Department offering to come in and fix my shower head to actually help me conserve water. So I think the city has done a wonderful job of conserving water. As a matter of fact, I think other parts of the country are actually jealous of the city of Phoenix because we have been so in tune with living in the dense desert and protecting our water. So I thank you very much for what you do, and I think this infrastructure is very important.
Okay. I'd like to make a couple comments on this. I think this is one of the most important decisions that we're going to make as a council. I've been involved with the Water Department and to Karen and serving on the AMWA board. So we have been very in tune to the drought contingency plan, to the level of the lake, and I am most appreciative to our Citizens Committee. I put a lot of trust in them because I know they dig deep and ask the hard questions. And I want to thank them very much for doing that. But I think we have two situations here. We have water, but we need good infrastructure, especially in the southern part, to make sure that we don't have a loss of water, that we don't have cracks, that we don't have major failure in intersections, like I could think of a couple where there was a bus in one. And then as a council person representing the north area, I'm very concerned because what we have is a structure that does not pump north. And people living in the northern area of the city, and it's a very rapidly growing area, need water like everybody else. And I don't want them to go turn on a tap and have nothing come out. I also don't want the fire department to roll up and there's no water in the fire hydrant. I think it is very prudent of us to tackle this at this time. I think it is important for our future, for economic development, but mostly for the quality of life and for the survival of our neighborhoods up north and our businesses. So thank you for all the public meetings you've done. I know you have gone way out. You've met with anybody who asked, large or small, and I just want you to know we appreciate it. Thank you very much. So, Councilwoman.
So I'd like to thank, first of all, the staff for doing the outreach that had been done in the neighborhoods or with the community. I have several questions, and the first question is, how did you end up on this percentage of 12%?
I'm going to ask Denise Olson, the Chief Financial Officer, to come up. And while she's walking up here, I will answer that and then turn it over to her. So really this has to do, again, with our investment in infrastructure. We aimed at a level that would provide us sufficient debt service coverage ratios and ending fund balances so that we can go out and support the $1.5 billion over the next 5 years that we anticipate spending on these initiatives.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council, Councilman Pastor. So what happens is we have some financial indicators that we need to sustain to keep a AAA rating. And this business is a AAA rated entity, which helps us borrow costs at a very low rate. So what we did was we looked at their capital needs, and then we backed into what those rate increases would be. And so to support her capital program, we need 2 6% rate increases.
Okay. And when was the last time we voted for a rate increase?
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, that would have been the January of 2016. And that was a 2-year rate increase, so that was for, I believe it was March of 2016, and then March of 2017, there was no rate increase in 2018.
And the rate increase was what percentage?
It was, for March of 2016, it was 3%, and for March of 2017, it was 2%.
And at that time, when I voted for an increase, I was told it was for infrastructure. And now I'm confused as to, not confused, I pretty much know the answer, but at that time, I thought the rate was where it was supposed to be, in the sense to cover the infrastructure that was needed, and that's what I was told. Now I'm being told that we need to raise it to 6% 1 year and 6% another, and at 12%. And I'm being told it's for infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
So how much, and I guess Denise, I can ask you this, I don't know, how much is really going to be needed for infrastructure, for everything that needs to be done? And when I voted in 2016, I also said at that time, I'm only going to vote one time, make sure the percentage needs to be where it needs to be in order to cover us through the years for infrastructure.
Okay.
And so I'm not confused, I just want it on the record, and to be able to understand why we're at this point today.
Mayor, Councilwoman Pastor, first of all, of course, let me apologize if there was any miscommunication the last time that you took a vote. I will say, though, that conditions have certainly changed. I took a really close look at what the capital improvement program was recommended back the last time the City Council took a vote and what it is today. And basically, that capital improvement program has changed very significantly as conditions in our system and on the Colorado River have changed as well. So, for example, compared to the last time this council took a vote, we expect to spend an additional $400 million on infrastructure related to conditions on the Colorado River. And there's an additional $200 million in pipeline rehabilitation and replacement. Let me say, our capital improvement program changes continually. We go in, for example, in our pipeline program, we go in and assess the most critical and largest of our transmission lines. Sometimes when we go in, and we program the money for that in our CIP, sometimes when we go in, we find that they're fine, and we don't need to spend the amount of money that we thought we did. Other times we go in and we find a real problem, and we find that we have to spend millions of dollars more than we anticipated. So our capital improvement program it's a living, evolving thing, and you're correct. We asked for the rate increase for infrastructure last time. We're asking for the rate increase for infrastructure this time as well. It really has a lot to do with changing conditions over time.
Anyone else?
I just have a couple comments. Ms. Sorensen, I just want to thank you and your team for the amazing public engagement that you've done since this process started. I've talked to some of my residents and they've communicated well. They don't want to pay more for water. They understand why this step is necessary. So I just think it's a testament to the level of outreach that you've done, and I just wanted to thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call.
Mayor, just a quick one on my end.
Sorry.
Oh, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I'll be very quick. This is just to go in line with what Councilman Pastor just said. I remember that meeting clearly, where we were told specifically this is going to be the capital need. The difference in 2 years is $1.5 billion. That's not something that just occurs overnight. So when Councilman Pastor said, this is the time I want to vote for it, this is what I want to do, that was clear across the board. And I get capital needs to change, but they don't change by $1.5 billion. I'll be voting no, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? Councilwoman?
Catherine, I also want to thank you for all the community outreach that you did in District 8. I do want to ask you about District 8 pipelines. Can you tell me the importance about changing and doing all this infrastructure changes in District 8?
Mayor, Councilwoman Mendoza, thank you. Absolutely. So our ability to deliver safe, clean, reliable water is directly dependent on the health of that infrastructure and on our pipelines in particular. Without reliable pipeline infrastructure, we simply cannot deliver that water safely and reliably to our customers. Many of you have mentioned the age of our system. Phoenix Water Services has been in operation for 111 years. Our pipelines continue to age. We want to get in there and get ahead of this problem and make sure that we are able to continue those safe, clean, reliable deliveries to our customers. It's of paramount importance.
And most of those older pipes are in District 8?
Most of our older pipes are in Central and South Phoenix. That's correct. Yes.
Yes, okay. And can you explain which district need water and which district need infrastructure and how your plan addresses those needs, especially in the north area?
Right. Mayor, Councilman Mendoza, certainly. So if you look at the amount of money in our capital improvement program, about $500 million of it goes towards efforts to ensure that we are able to continue to provide reliable deliveries in North Phoenix during times of shortage on the Colorado River. That involves large transmission mains, pump stations, PRVs, and wells. About $525 million is for aging pipelines in particular, and that is mostly going to be spent in Central and South Phoenix. And then the remainder, approximately $500 million, goes towards, it really goes across our service territory, water treatment plants, reservoirs, the 300 remote facilities that we have throughout our 540 square mile service territory.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see anyone else. Roll call.
DeCiccio?
No.
Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza? Nowakowski? Pastor? Stark? Waring? Williams?
Yes. If I vote yes? Well, then I'm going to vote no, so it can be brought back for reconsideration, because this is something that's too important to this city and the entire city. It's something that cannot be ignored. Water is essential to not only our lives, the growth of this city, and continuation. So it is defeated 5-3. Okay. We are now on item 43, which is, I believe, just a public hearing to hear on proposals, if I'm correct. Kate Tutalia? Kate? Was that you? Okay, come on. Vidi Hernandez will follow her. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kate Tutaya. I am here in opposition to some of the things that have been rewritten into the police contract that was presented last week. I want to say specifically that the plea proposal that you guys have for consideration that you're beginning negotiations on is asking for discipline records to be erased from an officer's record after 3 years. This is one of the line items. So the records of discipline specifically is a tactic that is used in the Phoenix Police Department to help assure that officers do not engage in behaviors that get them in trouble for the duration of their careers. So if an officer acts poorly, we keep that on record so that we know, right? The fact erasing an officer's record eliminates the incentive for them to change their behavior. And I hope that members of council can understand that. Plea in this proposal has also added, which is the police union, has also asked for records of discipline to not be considered in transfer requests. So if an officer wants to transfer position or location, they're asking that all prior disciplinary issues be ignored, as if they never happened. Records of discipline are designed to ensure that appropriate action is taken to prevent officers from engaging in this behavior again and again and again. And this includes keeping bad officers away from communities that have been victimized by them. This Phoenix Police Department has a history of transferring police officers who have acted poorly, who have use of force incidents against them, and transferring them to precincts in the west side and in the south side. And if you make it a policy of ignoring previous history, then you are allowing situations like this to happen again and again. We demand that there is no new funding for the Phoenix Police Department, and that you do not allow any new policies that require further funds to be given to police department that decreases accountability and decreases transparency.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Viri Hernandez. So I'm here to talk about the police contract that is being proposed and the culture of violence that continues to be perpetuated in this contract. We have been national embarrassment this week as the blatant lack of accountability and transparency was reported on New York Times. We've said it several times locally, but also now it's being talked about nationally. And as council members, as a city manager, as the police chief, have continuously ignored that this is a crisis and continuously denied this crisis and taken steps forward to resolve this. And so we're here because the council has never asked for answers, has never taken this to the community. This is a community epidemic. It has been named, police violence has now been named a public health crisis in the United States. And there are no conversations happening, right? Like I hear there are gonna be 5 forums now to talk about the Suns contract. I wanna know when the forums are gonna happen for this contract. When are those gonna be taken to the community? When are we going to get to talk and see what's happening? Further, like this proposal is another example of the violence or culture of violence that is perpetuated by this union that has been proven to be a super anti-immigrant institution that has supported Joe Arpaio, Trump, that supported and stood really proudly as SB 1070 was signed. And those are things that cannot be ignored about this union that is pushing this forward. And furthermore, what this shows, policy after policy and after different sections, is that there's continued measures to reduce accountability and continued measures to reduce transparency are out throughout this proposal. The lack of trust within the community and police department is something that we should all be worried about and that we should all have as a priority. And you know, and all of that is in the contract is, again, pay increases, reduce accountability. They want to eliminate current measures that encourage accountability. They're fighting efforts of transparency. So we demand no more funding for this department as the violence continues, and we want to know when we're going to have this taken to the community, and no funding can continue to increase for the most deadly police department in the country.
Thank you. Michael Ingram. And Maria Sanchez will follow him.
Before I begin my comments, I believe we've lost Councilman DeCiccio.
Pardon me?
Have we lost Councilman DeCiccio?
Yes, we did.
All right, I'd like you to note that he's not listening when folks are talking. All right, I'm here to talk also about the police contract. Plea is asking for more ways to skirt accountability. They're currently seeking rate increases, to pay increases for their actions. They want to eliminate accountability measures, and they're determined to fight transparency. Our police department is one of the toughest in the country to get any data from. That is a national embarrassment. It has been quoted that it's been 30 months at one point to get data from our police department. I don't think there's anyone in this building who can tell me what kind of disciplinary officers got last year, how many, and what for. And that is a problem. You can request it, and you can wait a year or more. We have a police department that's asking, so instead of implementing these procedures, we have a union that says they don't want to allow for anonymous complaints. We have a union that says that they want to wait longer after critical incidents to speak to someone, as we all know that immediately afterwards, immediately after, incidents are most fresh in your mind, and they're asking for more time for that. This is not creating a better police department. This isn't creating better trust. If you want to create better trust, you must be transparent, and our police department is one of the least transparent in the entire country. We should not be having a union asking for things that make the community trust them less. And that is one of the biggest problems in our police department. We are simply asking that you talk to the rest of the community when discussing what the union will be allowing, what our police department will be allowed to do. That is unfair, and honestly, it's wrong. If we want to build a better police department, we should start with more transparency and not less. We should not be held hostage by a police department who says they want more money for the body cameras that they need to wear. We don't know what our police department does at any given time, and rarely ever do we see any evidence one way or the other, the behavior. And it's simply asking that we get more transparency, not less.
Thank you. Maria Sanchez? And Luke Black will follow her.
Council, Mayor, I'm here to talk about the fact that this contract is not going to allow for accountability and transparency from the police officers. Previously spoken that there is no trust from the community, and one of the most alarming thing is that they want to eliminate the anonymous complaints. When going to talk to the community while doing surveys, even just approaching them to talk about it in person, they were very afraid to even voice their opinion in an anonymous survey. And so there's already a lack of trust and from the community to come forward with anything that was spoken or said or done by a police officer that wasn't correct. So this would also decrease the number of people reporting, and this is a bad policing because it exposes community members of potential retaliation from officers. And we have seen this firsthand when a community member came to speak to you about an incident that happened, and after that we saw a lot of harassment from officers. So we have been seeing this firsthand, and this was just from her coming to speak to you forward here in council. So I can't even imagine, what this reporting would do. Another thing that I also want to address is the police want to be paid more for participating in accountability measures. They want the 5% pay raise for everyone required to wear body cameras, which is absolutely ridiculous because there's a lot of major large cities are already doing this around the country, but we haven't even been able to enforce this in the first place, and now they want a raise for this. This is absolutely wrong, and it's unacceptable that we are gonna be trying to push this forward without even going to the community and talking to them about this. Especially knowing that the people that are pushing this is PLE, which, the police union that have been very anti-immigrant and supporting Trump and Arpaio. So this is something that we need to take back to the community, and this is not going to allow for any accountability or trust.
Thank you. Luke Black? And then Leonard Clark.
Afternoon, Council. Just a real quick show of hands. How many of you have read the police's proposal? All right. Can we submit this? Can we turn this in? There's a copy, basically cliff notes of the proposal for each of the council members so that you can familiarize yourself with this because it is millions of dollars, and you clearly have opinions about millions of dollars being spent on arenas and millions of dollars being spent on water, so I thought you should have an educated opinion about millions of dollars being spent on the most violent police department in the country. We have come before you for a while now, and we continue to ask for more transparency. We continue to ask for more accountability, and the police continue to say that that's what they want as well. Yet we see in the details of this report that they move in the exact opposite direction. I'd like to highlight two examples of efforts by the department to decrease accountability and transparency. First, police want officers who are in disciplinary hearings to be given access to the recordings of witnesses that have testified against them. The ability for witnesses to remain anonymous when reporting poor police behavior is a way that keeps community members participating in holding police officers accountable. And by giving police access to who is accusing them, you open up the possibility for potential retaliation. Police also want that any officer that has a restraining order filed against them by the community to not have that restraining order be grounds for disciplinary action. That also eliminates accountability and puts community members at risk, and they will not report if they know that their livelihoods and their physical safety is in jeopardy. We strongly encourage you to read this report. We strongly encourage you to take this tax increase as serious as you do the other ones, and that you reject any new funding for this police department.
Thank you. Leonard Clark? Okay, that's all the cards I have. Is that the last item we have? No, we have 48. Wishful thinking. Leonard?
I'm supporting this agreement, I believe, with Salt River Project for solar power. I've been up here, I know, continually, repeating over and over, what are we going to do about global climate change? As you know, I'm not always the greatest fans with the board of some of these public monopoly utility monopolies, but I think this is a good first step. I think you're being proactive. And, I really do wish that, SRP would also follow through and make this more available with other people. But we do need to start doing something, and at least today, I can say we're doing something. Of course, I'm not satisfied, not until all of us are driving those electric cars, and, we're recycling, and I'm one of the biggest violators. I need to get better at this, but if you do this, finally, I see something that the City of Phoenix is doing on global climate change. And I want to thank you, and I hope you'll vote for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move item 48.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
DeCiccio? Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Waring?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes. Items 51.
Move to approve item 51.
Second.
Leonard, do you want to make comments on this? No. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
DeCiccio? Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza? Nowakowski?
Yes.
Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Waring?
Yes.
Williams? Yes. Item 56.
Move to approve item 56.
Leonard, did you want to make comments on 56?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Leonard Clark, and I do, again, support this. Again, I'm no great fan of the board of directors of APS, but at least you're doing something, and this will help, but we really need a lot more. You're doing your part. I just ask APS to step up and do even further. Thank you.
Thank you. No comments? Roll call.
DeCiccio? Guevara?
Yes.
Mendoza?
Yes.
Nowakowski? Pastor?
Yes.
Stark? Waring? Williams?
Yes. I believe that's all of the agenda, but we do have cards for public comment. Leonard Clark?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I just want to say thank you for being up here. A lot of people would love, did they say, to be in an elected position in the 5th largest city of the United States. But it's not as easy as it looks. I've been here for years now, and this is a very tough position to be in. If you're right across the street at Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, no offense, sometimes it can get rough there, but it seems like, wow, this can become a lightning rod place. So it takes a lot of stress, but we need good leaders to represent us. Nobody amongst you are perfect. I know that you'll try to strive to be perfect. And we've just had so much chaos going on. I myself have been guilty of being very passionate and overzealous for what I believe. but I extend my hand out now to whether you support Trump or don't support Trump, I'm going to look at you as a human being, okay? And now what we see taking place across Europe, and you know, I have friends on the left, friends on the right, people who also believe, extreme right and left, they believe the earth is flat, they believe all of these things that are just totally irrational. I have friends on the left and the right saying, hey, we ought to do that in Phoenix, we ought to have the yellow vests come here. But all I see, and I've seen some good actions, but what I've seen are people on the far left throwing rocks, burning buildings, damaging businesses, hurting police officers. I really don't care how passionate you are about a gas tax or whatever it is. It doesn't give these extremists the right to go out and attack the people who are only trying to keep public order. And we need that more than ever. So again, I have disagreements with you from a lot, you know, sometimes, and sometimes with our officers. But right now in these times, things are becoming more chaotic. We need leaders, whether it's at city council level, state level, because, you know, unfortunately, you know, we have some people who are in elective office right now that they're not really being good examples. So anyways, thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm gonna not give in to that hate. I'm gonna do my best not to. I'm gonna look at you as a human being. I'm not gonna say you're a Trump person, you're non-Trump, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat. We've got to run our city of Phoenix and make it better. And I've seen some positive things today. So thank you so much for letting me speak. Thank you to the veterans out there and the ones who are serving right now, freezing or burning, wherever they're at, so I have the ability to speak here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Michelangelo? Jennifer Harrison?
I just wanted to say in regards to public order is last week we were in here for the city council meeting and I was just absolutely appalled at what I witnessed in these chambers of the pure just chaos, commotion, the mob mentality, the disrespect, and the complete just lack of leadership from you guys. We are seeing this every day on our streets by these same particular groups, and their objective is to come in here and insult and belittle our police officers, our council members, and to run their own radical, lawless agendas. And I called them savages, and if the shoe fit, they lived up to that phrase. By the end of the meeting, I left here just shaking my head that this would be allowed. I've spoken in other city council meetings across the state and in other states as well. And I know that if anybody speaks up out of the audience and they're acting in that way, that they're promptly removed as a matter of law and order and just the decorum and the professionalism that we expect from you, our city leaders, in how that type of radical, lawless, criminal behavior is allowed in the chamber. So I hope that moving forward that, you know, when that happens again, that some steps will be taken. I know that, Mayor, you were afraid that they were gonna cause the police to physically remove them and that would have been aired on TV. And that's what needs to be seen. We need to show that Phoenix will not put up with that behavior, will not tolerate the lawlessness. Thank you.
Thank you. And I happen to agree with you. Lisa? Oh, I think Jennifer Harrison, then followed by Lisa. That was Jennifer, wasn't it? Yes. That's what I thought. It's Lisa? So I got Lisa right this time, though.
Yeah. Hi, first, a couple things. I'm here really to say what Jennifer said too, but I want to say something to Councilwoman Pastor. Thank you for the water tax bill. I think it might be the first time I've ever agreed with you on something, and I appreciate that it was a nonpartisan thing. Last week was a joke. And it seems to be every time the people on the left have a problem with this city council, they are allowed to run riot in here. We saw it after the Trump rally, which of course our president can't come to this city anymore because of the radical left. And we saw it several times. And we come in here, I'm not happy with you guys most of the time. I don't come in here if I have something good to say. I come in here when I'm angry about something that's going on. But I don't sit over there. I don't bum rush the thing. I don't have a 50-foot banner that I run around. It's not only is it disgusting to watch, it's dangerous. It sets a dangerous precedence. It sets a precedence of lawlessness. And I happen to have some good faith information that there are people on this chamber that promote this kind of behavior, and these groups coming forward with that anti-police, anti-law and order rhetoric. And everybody has a right to speak, everybody has a right to their opinion, everybody has a right to voice that opinion, but nobody has the right to come into a city council meeting and endanger the lives of others. We wanted to come back in last week. We weren't even allowed to come back in because of the violent nature that was going on in here. And I don't care if you don't want the police to be seen as bad guys and arrest people. It's time for some law and order. And it starts here with you guys. It starts here. And if you don't back up our police outside of here, inside with the bills, and inside with allowing them to do their jobs. Their job is to get rid of the lawlessness in here. And you need to back off and let them do it and direct them to do it so that people understand going forward that you can be irritated and angry and yet sit civilly and like an adult. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Michael Pierce? No? Okay, that's the last card we have. Thank you all for being here. We are adjourned. What? Oh, he's right here? We're not recessed. Come down.
I'm pleased with the decision on the Talking Stick Arena to move that to public hearings. I would like to go farther than that, though. It's important that the voters have an input into a fundamental decision, and I would respectfully remind the mayor and the city manager that at this stage they are acting in a caretaker capacity of city government. The democratic thing would be to let the people, the voters, decide in the runoff election and send a mayor with either a mandate to proceed or a mandate to not proceed. So that is, I will develop that later and fully in writing, but this must be emphasized. There should be no rush to be giving multimillionaires money when there are real serious issues like homelessness that could be addressed far less and more effective. So let the people decide in the March election if they find it necessary to proceed.
Thank you. Okay, now we have no more cards. So, adjourned.